Thank you, everyone who watching this interview today. I am happy to introduce Vikram Raya, cardiologist, doctor, coach, and really amazing man who gave us opportunity to talk with him about different topics. For sure, we as a non-profit organization and our mission to decrease heart attack risk score for the old people. We will try to touch this topic and another topic. And yeah, Vikram, thank you so much. And please introduce yourself and add something which I missed. Thank you.
Alex, thank you so much. It's a great work you and your wife are doing with the nonprofit, and I'm happy to support it. My background, again, I'm a physician, I'm a cardiologist. I started my journey, trained in Atlanta at Emory, then went to Medical College of Georgia, made my way to Georgetown in DC. And the goal was, to be a cardiologist. And the reason why I was so interested and almost driven to do that is, Alex, just like I'm assuming the reason why this nonprofit was started is, something personal that had happened. And so something personal happened to me. My father, first of all, collapsed in front of me when my son was 1 year old because of heart problems. And then on top of that, I had 6 people in my family, all in India, die of heart attacks. And, South Asians, especially all over the world, account for almost, I want to say it's a staggering number of 25% of all cardiovascular deaths are from South Asians. And then it is the #1 killer of all human beings on this earth. Is the #1 killer is cardiovascular disease.
Yeah.
And so I found it compelling to learn it and understand it. But the interesting that happened, Alex, is when I was learning and doing it, I found that the traditional way of just managing heart disease is not enough. And so I brought it on myself to learn what else I could do. And I knew lifestyle played a component, but I didn't know how serious that component was until I learned epigenetics, functional medicine, integrative medicine, technology, advanced biomarkers. And I was able to synthesize all of that into a clinic, which I call the Vitology Institute. And now, we've helped hundreds of people all over the country, and I dare say the world, really elevate their life, reclaim their vitality, bulletproof themselves from some heart disease, and make an impact on this earth.
Awesome. Thank you for this introduction, and thank you for all your thoughts. And as I realized, your family was involved in this medicine area, and it's the reason why you was very close, and it's the reason why you choose medicine area in general. And my next question, why did you choose Emory University? Could you share some thoughts of this university? This is a local university, or maybe this is international university, and how your education was in that time?
Yeah, Emory is a great liberal school. It's a very established school with a ton of diversity, and it provided a strong background in the sciences as I was trying to pursue medicine. And then, a medical school, as you know, is very competitive. And so you have your best, opportunities sometimes in your own state. And so I was a resident of Georgia. And so I went to Medical College of Georgia. But really, I loved Georgetown because I wanted to explore the world. I wanted to be in a cosmopolitan city. And again, Georgetown has a very good internal medicine program. And so I chose that. And then again, cardiology, a very super competitive field. And so had some friends who were in the Milwaukee area. My brother was in Chicago at the time. And so it made sense to go out to the University of Wisconsin and do my last piece of training there.
And as a professional, as a mature guy, what do you think right now on educational system in medicine? Is it necessary to improve, or some ideas, or fundamental medicine education is very good right now and no necessary to change it? Accordingly, Alex, your thoughts? Yeah.
I'm gonna be a contrarian here and probably go against the grain. I think medical education is too long. A lot of it is probably not necessary to achieve the end results. I think it's antiquated. It needs an update, and it needs a reboot. And in this day of virtual reality, digital revolution, democratization of education via YouTube and things like that, it has to, and the cost is soaring, right? Typical medical student or a typical doctor coming out of medical school and everything else, they're probably in debt for about between 250,000 to maybe $500,000. And so they're literally spending the first 10 years of their life paying that off, and so financially, it really doesn't make sense the way it's currently structured. And so, on top of all of the things I mentioned, what I do, I also run a real estate company. And so, I found ways to where I earn my money in different ways, and now I can have impact and I can do what I want in medicine without any financial confusion. Like I can do it for the love of the game. I can do it because I really want to help a patient. I can do it because I think it's the right thing to do versus, hey, will this pay me more money?
Awesome. And you mentioned about your new approach, and can you share some words about your transition from cardiologist as a doctor to business world as a director, coach, and CEO of the company?
Yes. We've been taught like stick to one thing, do one, focus your energies. We're meant to have one career for our whole lifetimes. And I think that was the case for the generation before us, where, a lot of immigrants come to this country, or they're already in this country, but, the goal is safety and stability. Our generation, Alex, is not looking for safety and stability. They're looking for meaning and impact. And so, and we're also passionate about a lot of things. And so, I follow a guy named Peter Diamandis, who's a futurist, and he's like what we call a techno optimist. And he says the average person nowadays who are finishing school will actually have 7 or 8 careers in their lifetime.
Exactly.
Not 7 or 8 jobs, 7 or 8 careers, meaning different things that they'll end up doing. So I realized that I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I love solving interesting problems. I love helping people, and in my profession that I love to do that in was initially health, and then I realized like I like helping people in other things too, and so that led to me being a coach, high performance coach, right? And it's not until did I lose you?
No, I'm here.
Okay, hold on. I don't see your video went on me.
Oh, right now it's better.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry about that. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So what was that? Okay, so my transition, right? So then, as I was helping people in the field of medicine, it was great. Then I decided to help the field in not only medicine, but it's wellness and vitality, and the goal is not only avoiding heart disease, but it's living your healthiest optimal life. It's living to the age of 200. It's being in your 70s and climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. It's being able to lift weights at the age of 85 that a 35-year-old guy is doing, right? It's doing all these things. And so I first tested on my own family. My father, who I told you collapsed in front of me, now is at the age of almost, I think he's 75 now, and he lifts more weights than some of my friends. He's active, he's exercising, he swims, he does all these things, and he doesn't look like a old grandfather. He looks like a middle-aged man. My mom, who's in her mid-60s, she does yoga every day. She's had a heart surgery, she's had a knee surgery, but she looks like a 30-year-old woman. It looks great. So I've poured all this into my own family. I poured into myself, and now I'm doing this for others, and it's fun. It's interesting and it's engaging, and I think this is where the future of medicine is going. The future of medicine, they say the doctor of the future is going to be the patient, and I'll say that again. The doctor of the future is the patient. So we're going to learn all these strategies, and epigenetics is essentially the study of how to turn on good genes and how to turn off bad genes. So we're not sort of hijacked by what we've been born into. We can essentially reclaim our health and chart a new course in our health. So even if you already had a heart attack and you're listening to this program, guess what? you can do certain strategies and literally bulletproof you from the second heart attack and never having another one again, and advance your health. And then the genetics that's leading to the heart attack, or the lifestyle that led to the heart attack, potentially put you at risk for cancer, which is another big killer, stroke, autoimmune disease. And so as you start to heal your gut, as you start to take supplements, antioxidize, detox your body, exercise consistently, create cardiovascular health, and you create flexibility, which prevents your joints and improves circulation. And then you're doing strength training, resistance training, which is going to prevent osteoporosis and improve your cardiovascular, strength. And then on top of that, you're learning to become insulin sensitive, and so you're getting off the diabetic medication, and you're learning to decrease stress, decrease sympathetic drive, decrease heart rate variability. Then your blood pressure comes off, and now you're literally bulletproofing yourself from the heart attack, and you're becoming a different version of yourself.
Yeah,
so that's sort of the goal.
Yeah, this is amazing. And you mentioned some reasons why the people increase the heart attack risk score. But in general, what do you think? Why so many people have problems with the heart? From your point of view, I'm sure that you have a traditional approach and traditional all knowledge and experience from cardiology, but in the same time, you have new ideas. And I'm curious about your thoughts. Why people have a lot of problems? And some forecasts said that in the future it will be a big problem too for the young generation as well. What do you think?
So
yeah,
there are 30-year-olds who are walking in heart attacks. The youngest person I've come across in my cardiology career is, I had a 25-year-old Filipino woman who had to have a quadruple bypass surgery.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so you could say, oh, it's all genetics, but I think it's more than that, right? Look, the food industry is completely, derailed our health, right? On top of that, because of COVID, we were already quite sedentary. I think we've become quadruple the amount of sedentariness, right? Everything is very easy, right? Walking is a big deal. You can take Uber, or you get a Lyft, or something happens. So it's lack of activity. It's the food choices have become. I mean, there's a lot of healthy food choices, but there's also a lot of poor food choices. Inflammation is the buzzword. Inflammation. Why does we are at risk for heart disease? Inflammation. Why at risk for diabetes? Inflammation. Autoimmune disease, Alzheimer's, inflammation. And the inflammation is coming from lifestyle. Lifestyle is lack of sleep, high stress, poor nutritional habits. And then it's like your hand is on a flame. There's two strategies. Either you turn off the flame, which is functional medicine, get rid of the root cause of the problem, or you wear a glove or something just to protect your hand. That's taking a medication, right? It's like you can give a medication to a lion for a thorn in its paw, which is what we do for our diabetes, our cholesterol, or you can take out the thorn, which is a much more logical sense. So the problem is we don't go after the underlying root cause of why we're being damaged, and then we manage the damage with medications or strategies and pills. The traditional diagnostic approach for cardiology is great. Like if you already have a heart attack, we can save your life, but that's not going to prevent the next one from coming, right? A stent is essentially like, think about it this way. You have a pipe and it's smeared with hummus or some kind of creamy substance on the side. That's cholesterol plaques. That's come from inflammation, from diet, from insulin, metabolic syndrome, and all that. You could just squish it to the side, create a pathway with a stent, but it's still there. That's what a stent does. It temporarily relieves the blockage, and you buy yourself a couple more years. Or you can figure out, hey, why is this hummus? Let's get rid of all the hummus in the first place, and so it doesn't come back ever again. And so we need to go back to the mentality of, look, let's stabilize. Go to the hospital when you have a real problem. They'll fix it right then and there, but don't stop there. Then go figure out, hey, why did this happen to me in the first place? Let's clean that up. Let's go after that. Let's work on the system and not the symptoms. And one of my mentors, Dr. Mark Hyman, he's at the Cleveland Clinic. He's written, several amazing books on this kind of stuff, and so, recommend it to your listeners, and you can be in the show notes as well. But it's really, guys, it's taking back control. Don't expect a doctor to fix you. They can't. They can stabilize you. They can, they can save your life when something gets critical. But it's up to you to prevent these chronic diseases from even happening in the first place.
Yeah, you touch very interesting topic that actually when the patient visit the clinic, this is like last food or last step in this, but the treatment could be or should be much more earlier than the last visit, and to diagnose the heart attack or other failure. And you have a unique experience, and I'm sure that you have some thoughts. What's the difference on heart attack problem in India and the United States, on your personal opinion? Or they have the same? Yeah.
China, India, Africa, Middle East, initially their rates were not that high. But what happened was westernization of the food. So once that happened, diabetes is now higher in India and China than higher. Like, look, they were both rice-based countries, right? They would eat rice as a staple of their diet. But that was because they were working in the fields, and and they didn't combine that with high fats. It was just like lean protein, a little bit of rice. Now the quantities of all of this has gone way up. No one walks, no one exercises anymore. And then the quality of the food has gone way down. And then you throw in the manufactured, processed foods, and now it's a setup for a disaster. And that's what's happened. So India has super high diabetes rate. So diabetes creates inflammation, which eventually leads to diabetes. It leads to hypertension. It leads to cholesterol. It leads to thickening of your blood. It leads to your all these hormonal dysregulation. So everything is connected. People think these are like separate diseases. It's sort of one thing. It's called metabolic syndrome, and it's all connected. So you're asking, hey, how come most diabetics are also heart patients? It's not a coincidence, right? There's a connection. And again, one of the buzzwords I mentioned was inflammation. And you can have inflammation that presents in the brain is called Alzheimer's. Inflammation that presents in the joints is like rheumatoid arthritis or autoimmune disease. Inflammation in the arteries is called cardiovascular disease, right? Inflammation in the gut is called leaky gut or inflammatory bowel disease, or irritable bowel syndrome.
Yeah, thank you so much. And we have one more player in this game, and this is a player insurance company, especially for the United States. What do you think was the role of the insurance company in solving heart attack problem?
So they should play a major role, but sometimes their incentives are not in line with ours, right? Like they're trying to reduce cost, right? So, if like when there's a company like Kaiser, their incentives are a little bit different, right? Because they own the hospitals, they own the doctors, and they own the insurance company. So it's a full vertical integration. So their goal is to try to like limit, the usage. And so they're more a little bit heavier on education and pre-education and prevention. But other insurance companies, they make money when, people use their resources, right? So there's a profitability thing. Most insurance companies are for profit. And so if their incentives are for profit and then they get incentivized for quantity, not quality, then you can see why things are going in that direction. Physicians are incentivized with quantity, not quality in general, right? You get paid per patient, not paid per patient outcome.
Yeah.
And so the incentives have to be in an alignment. And then, physicians overall are getting burnt out. They're losing the passion they once had to become doctors. They get rudely awakened when they join the medical profession, and too much paperwork, too much bureaucracy, less enjoyment of helping a patient, and less reward to help the patient, right? So it's once you align the systems in the right way, then I think people do well. And so now there's a whole movement for functional medicine, integrative medicine. In fact, a lot of the bigger institutions, I think Mayo Clinic has a functional medicine clinic, Cleveland Clinic does, um, uh, and some of the other organizations out there. There's a company that Google, it's like former Google founders called Forward, that's been very popular. That's becoming more proactive. We're using technology. There's a company called Parsley Health that is for a very low cost monthly fee. You have access to a functional medicine physician through telehealth, and they're based out of New York, I think. So there's a movement now that's starting to happen, and people are becoming more aware. It's becoming a little bit more mainstream. And I think people are trying to reclaim and go after, become more educated. And I think the concept of epigenetics is not so far-fetched anymore. People understanding that it is real, though I do have control. And so let's see where things move along. But what I say this, if you're listening to this podcast or this channel, yeah, you have a responsibility to take control. So first get educated, see what's possible, and realize that testing that you get done with your quote unquote physical from a physician is not enough. It's very basic. And in fact, they miss a lot of the problems. And so you think you're healthy, but you may not be. And then you won't take action until things get too worse. And when they do get worse, your physician then prescribes a medication, pill, or procedure. And then you manage your symptoms and put band-aids on instead of going after the underlying problem. So first get clarity. Hey, do I really feel well? No, I'm not feeling well. Okay, fine. Get better testing done. If your physician doesn't do it, you may have to go outside the traditional realm to get testing done. And things like fasting insulin, very few doctors do, but it's a great test. Oxidized LDL particle number, HSCRP, hormone profile to really see, hey, how's my thyroid? How's my testosterone? How's my estrogen? Like looking at all these things. Cortisol, it's your stress hormone. Very few people look at their stress. Stress is an indicator, eventually leads to heart attacks. There's a technology here. It's not very affordable. It's called the Oura Ring, OURA ring. It measures something called heart rate variability. Your doctor doesn't even know about it or doesn't test it. But literally this will tell you your stress to relaxation levels. So if you get this ring, you're able to figure out, hey, am I more on the stressful side? The stressful side is stimulating chemicals in my arteries, in my body to clamp down on my arteries and create more pressure, and eventually they can lead to heart attacks. So if I start meditating, if I start exercising and doing things, my heart rate variability, you want it to go up. If it goes up, that decreases your risk for heart attacks. So these are simple things that, again, it's not expensive, and you can start taking back control. And Alex, I think that's the point of your nonprofit. You want to give back control. You want to help these vulnerable populations, and you want to reduce in a meaningful way heart disease in this world.
Yeah, in other words, the key could be not to work with the symptomatics, right, and with the results, but the key is functional medicine and to work with the system, with the body as a system, and how these different organs, different systems inside of the body works and relate each other. We are very close to I believe that finishing all this COVID mess, and for sure, I have to ask you a question about COVID influence to the heart failure, and what do you think about this?
I mean, there's no doubt that patients with heart disease are higher risk for COVID, and if they do get it, their complications are far worse. So, I obviously recommend the vaccinations for all these people who have heart conditions, and do their best to avoid getting COVID and protect themselves from it. But don't live in fear. Live with faith and strategy, and be smart, but don't be don't live in fear, because that can actually worsen your hypertension and maybe your stress levels. So be smart about it. This will eventually be overcome, but use the vaccines, use the strategies, and if you do get COVID and you're having symptoms, reach out for professional medical help.
Yeah, thank you for sharing these thoughts. And right now I am going to shift our conversation more to the technology and probably more for the future of the heart attack problem, and try to imagine that you have all resources, money resources, financial resources, education resources. I don't know, you are CEO of all business companies, insurance company, And what top 3 things which you did, which you do to help to decrease heart attack risk score?
So you're asking, how do you reduce your heart attack risk? Is that what you're saying, Alex?
Yeah, you have all resources, and
oh, okay. So if
yeah.
a person with unlimited resources, I mean, it's and you already have either had a heart attack or at risk for it, I would say go to a functional integrative doctor, preferably a functional integrative cardiologist. There are a few of them in the country, you know, you know, really figure out what your risk is. The first is knowledge and clarity. A lot of people don't know their true risk. Once you have that, and you've had, you know, most doctors could do a 25-point test, 25 lab parameters. When I was in full on practice, I would check 100 to 200 parameters. So which one is going to be more accurate? Which one is going to give you more information? And also the ranges, right? When you go to a typical doctor, they say, hey, if you're from here, like on this side of your Golden Gate Bridge behind you, to this side, you're normal. That's too wide a range. We were like, no, right here is normal. And if you're outside of that, that's already, we're going to call it a red flag. So once you get clarity on the labs and the lab ranges, then if there's a problem, figure out what's causing it. Is it nutrition, sleep, stress, hormones, detox, autoimmune, neurotransmitters, you know, cognitive variants, like, you know, physiological issues, lack of exercise, whatever. Work on that. And it's not just one thing, it's usually a holistic, right? So I really believe in treating the whole patient. And so going after all these systems is the key. And then once you optimize all those systems, then you'll notice that you test but verify, right? You're testing to see improvements, but you also look at your symptoms. There's a symptoms questionnaires that we have, and your symptoms should be like at a certain number, like 50. And then if you do all the work, it should drop to maybe 25 or even 10. So now you're symptomatically, you're improving, lab work, you're improving, and then you test physiologic parameters. Like we use something called peak VO2, you're starting to have more cardiovascular output. Your heart rate variability is improving. Like these are the kind of, so you're getting data to show you're improving, you're feeling better, your labs are showing you're improving, you know, and that's how you bulletproof yourself. And then you maintain these strategies over time. Because if you do this for a year and you go back to who you are 2 years from now, you're going to get the heart attack, right? So, and then it's your environment. Who are you around? Are you around toxic people? Are you on toxic habits? Are you, you know, what's your outlook on life? Your psychological component. So I'm looking at all that. What books are you reading? You know, what do you watch? Like all of that plays a role. You know, are you too much into the news? Are you, you know, negative folks around you? So this is how I would approach things. And you know, the whole thing could take about a year to go through this whole process. But literally you come out as a superstar, rock solid, bulletproof, resilient on the other side.
Yeah. Vikram, thank you so much for this great opportunity. I know that your time is like a gold, and thank you for sharing all ideas and thoughts and insights during this time with you, interview with you. And I'm sure that you will be super successful in what you are doing, and I love your approach. It's completely different, and I believe that this is a key for the all people in not only in the United States, in India and in all other places. Thank you so much, Vikram, for your work and for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Bye-bye.